And that is how you stack assets. That's how you take one big asset and turn it into mini assets. And the more assets you have, the more opportunity you're giving yourself for you not to exclusively trade time for money.
This is Secrets for Success.
Welcome to the Secrets for Success podcast. I'm your host, Greg Todd. Thank you, as always, my friends, for joining me. I appreciate your attention. Today's episode is going to be about asset stacking. Have you heard of that before? Well, we're going to talk about it. This is going to make I hope it's going to make sense to you guys. I know it's going to make sense because you guys are a smart crowd. All right. So you have heard me talk about skill stacking before, right? Skill stacking really did change my life because I had skills from December 26th of 2000. I had the skill of being an entry-level physical therapist. And those skills allowed me to, slowly climb up from just under 40K a year to 55 to 62, 68 in my last job. And then when I went and started my business, I went down a little bit because I, purchased into the business. And then I climbed up and I got up to like 120 as my highest base salary. But I owned the place, right? Okay. And I made money because I was obviously the owner of the clinics. But the reality is that the big money came when I was able to take those skills that I had as a clinician, stack other skills to it. And then that's what allowed me to really condense my income generation and to be able to make what I used to make in years in like a day, right? Okay. That's skill stacking. But let's talk about asset stacking. Okay. Asset stacking is understanding first this concept. The concept is you need to have assets because assets follow income. And when you have an asset, that means that you now have something that is able to bring value to people without you physically being in front of them. Okay. So like an asset you guys would know would be a home, not a home that you live in, but a home that you rent or a home that you Airbnb. Okay. A duplex, a triplex, like that makes sense, right? That's an asset. Okay. You put money into it. Yes. And you're going to probably have to put a sizable amount of money if it's a home, but it has the potential to be able to make you money without you having to physically be there. Like they actually don't want you there, right? It's kind of creepy. So that's an asset. I think everybody understands. I think most people understand a business would be an asset. You putting money in a mutual fund or a 401k or a stock would be a potential asset that can make you money. But we don't typically think of digital products as assets, but they are. Like they are. This past weekend, I was in South Florida. I was hanging out with my brother. I was hanging out with my parents. And my brother and I were watching college football on Saturday. By the way, go Canes. We kicked FSU's butt, right? But we're watching football. And while we were watching football, I just checked my email. It's a bad habit, but I did. And I saw I made like $1,500. $1,500 from an asset that I built. And the two people, it was $750 each, two people that bought it were consuming it. So this is amazing. $1,500. That's like more than most people make with their Airbnbs and profit. What? I made that from an asset. Okay. So digital products are assets. Okay. I actually also made, now here's the thing. I made $10,000 the day before. I was there and I saw a wire come through for $10,000 and this person's going to pay me that every quarter, right? For me to work with them. But that's actually not as exciting. That's not as exciting as the $750 because $750, the work is already done. $10,000, I have to work with that person for a day. Now, trust me, making $10,000 a day is like nothing to sneeze at, but there's work involved with that, right? Whereas I already did the work with the asset. The work's done. Now I'm just kind of cleaning up, right? And people are getting value. There's nothing cooler than that. So with that said, I'm sure you're like, I need to be able to create that. Yes, you should. And I want to tell you, one of the best ways I think to create an asset is through doing a book, but doing a book in a way that I'm going to show you. Now, I know you're probably listening to podcasts and you're listening to it on audio, but what I'm going to do right now is if you are listening to it, if you want to check out the YouTube channel, look at what I'm showing right here. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm showing my book called The Clinician's Guide to Multiple Income Streams. And I want to show you guys what I did with this book. And basically what I did with this book is I created the book, which is an asset. People are buying the asset today. By the way, you can go to Clinician's Guide to Incomestreams.com and purchase the book. Clinician's Guide to Incomestreams.com. Yes. And I'll put it in the show notes. But here's the deal. I want to break something down for you. Okay. And what I had up on a screen just a while ago was the table of contents. I'm going to break down what I did with the book and how you can stack assets upon each other. But before I do that, let me maybe put it in a way that will drive home the point for you. Okay, let's talk about my property that I have in Blue Ridge, Georgia. Okay, now most people, from what I've heard from my property manager, most people are getting out of the short-term rental game. Okay, market's a little tighter. They're not making as much money, and okay, forget it. I'm going to get out of this. And people have asked me, Greg, how have you made it work? Now, my property in Blue Ridge is renting at about a 90% occupancy. It's of the 3 rental properties that I have, it is doing the best with regards to the volume of rentals. It might not rent out as high as Bayshore or as Skyview, but it's killing it, right? But even before it was killing it, let me tell you how I was able to make it work. I made it work by stacking assets upon it, meaning that I was able to be very resourceful with that property. Okay, so number one, and I'm telling you this because I'm doing this for my other properties as well. So the first thing is this: I don't just rely on Airbnb or Vrbo or Marriott Bonvoy vacation rentals to rent out the property. What I also do is I have created other things that I can do with the property so that it can cash flow and make money. Okay. So I have created unique ways, experiences of using that property to be able to make money. For instance, I have a guy who does all of my AV work. He does all my AV work for my office, for my home, for my events. He does everything. He's actually building out a podcast room right now at Largo at Skyview for me. He's actually at that place right now, finishing it up, and you guys will see it. If you follow me on IG, I'll show it to you. And here's the deal. What I did is this. I needed to put up like 8 TVs at the cabin. You know what I did? I said, hey, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to barter with you. And the barter is going to be where you're going to put this up. It probably costs me like $5,000 to put all those TVs and the wiring and all the amazing things that he does. But I said, hey, I'll give you a weekend, or not a weekend. I told him I'd give him a week with his family there. And that's what we did. We bartered. Okay, that's one way that I was able to take an asset, but I was able to stack other resources upon it. Okay, here's number 2. Let's take that property that I have in Blue Ridge. That property's on 1.7 acres. One of the things that my builder said is, hey, what you can do is tiny homes in the Blue Ridge area rent out even more than your property, rents out. So what I'm considering doing is putting a tiny home on the property. That's taking the asset, home and land, and saying, let me stack another asset on the property so that we can make more money. Okay. Number 3, I've taken some of my events that I've done, and instead of just having my events at hotels, I've created Blue Ridge to be its own unique retreat. It sells out every single time we do it. We did it in 2023 3 times. We did it in 2024 once, or twice, and we did it in 2025. We've done it so far twice. It was back-to-back events. They sell out. And when that happens, I'm able to have my company basically pay the rent for that property. You guys see what I'm doing? I'm taking one asset, but I'm becoming very resourceful, and I'm turning it into multiple assets. I'm using it in different ways. I do the same thing with Skyview. Skyview, we do our events. When we do our events, Smart Success Healthcare has to pay Skyview LLC. Okay. Same thing I'm going to do at Bayshore. You're finding other ways to be able to use the property. It's called stacking assets upon assets. I've turned one of the bedrooms into a podcast room. Guess what? That podcast studio now can be used by other people to be able to do their podcasts. And now I can rent that room just to film your podcast. And it's going to allow me to make more money upon money. Does that make sense? So you guys, you have to learn how to, number 1, build assets. But then number 2 is you got to learn how to create more assets within the asset. Okay. So now that I've framed all that for you, I want you to see something. This is my book, The Clinician's Guide to Multiple Income Streams. Let me show you what I did with the book. Chapter 1 is what I call an awareness asset. It's called no backup, no business. It's making people understand that if you don't have a backup plan, you're screwed. Just someone reading that chapter in and of itself, they're going to be like, wow, I really need to get a backup. That's it. Just that chapter alone. Now, is that chapter is one chapter of 10 chapters inside the book. Okay. Number 2 is clinical arrogance almost bankrupted me. Okay. That chapter is another awareness chapter, meaning that by the end of reading that chapter, you're going to understand that you can't just stack all your money into trying to become the ultimate clinician because it doesn't pay off long term. Chapter 3 is called the 1.5% lie. The 1.5% lie is based on me doing 180 CEUs over 18 months and only getting a 1.5% increase in pay. The first 3 chapters are called awareness assets. So why am I talking about awareness assets? Because awareness assets are an asset that is going to give someone the understanding that what they are doing is probably not working. And here's why. Now, why am I breaking this down for you? Because chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3 are going to be its own mini book, which is a mini asset, like a tiny home. Just think of the book as Blue Ridge, okay? The Clinician's Guide to Multiple Income Streams, that's like the Blue Ridge cabin that I have. Chapter 1 is a tiny home on that asset. Chapter 2 is a tiny home on the other side of that asset, on the other side of land. Chapter 3, the 1.5% lie, is another asset on that piece of property. Okay, now let's start with chapter 4. Chapter 4 is stacking skills stacks your cash. Okay, that is an optimization asset. Chapter 5 is how to create a digital offer. That's an optimization asset. Chapter 6 is how to build memberships and group programs. That's another optimization asset. But what are those 4, 5, and 6 chapters? They are all assets. They're just assets that teach you how to do something. So if somebody just wants to know how to start a group program, boom, you just read chapter 6. That's going to be its own mini book. It's its own tiny home. If you want to learn how to create a digital offer, go to chapter 5. That's its own tiny home. That's a digital tiny home. Okay. You guys follow me? And then chapter 7 is how to create solutions-based offers. So again, it's another optimization asset. All of these are assets within the mothership asset, which is the book. Are you guys following this? Okay. Chapter 8, income streams beyond the clinic. Okay, that's called a leverage asset. It's how to leverage yourself outside of what you're doing in the 4 walls at a clinic. Chapter 9 is how to clone yourself as a clinician. It's how to use AI to build multiple streams of income. That's a leverage asset. Chapter 10 is stacking wealth, the art of compounding your income streams. That's another leverage asset. You guys see how I was able to create one asset in the book, but that then created 10 mini assets. Now, here's what I can tell you. What I can tell you is this. I don't know which one of these assets are going to take off. The book might explode. But instead of me just banking on the book exploding, which is one asset, what I did is I said, I'm going to also create 10 more assets from the book. So the reality is that chapter 1's mini book might explode, but the book might just do okay. It might be chapter 5 creating a digital offer that is going to explode, but chapter 1 might not. Are you understanding this? What you want to do is you want to give yourself as many shots of your offer working. Not every offer works. But instead of spending all this time just focusing on the book, I'm going to put my eggs in the book basket, but I'm also going to give myself the opportunity for all these little mini assets to work. I know this. I know that people want a result. They want a result fast. They want to consume it fast as they possibly can. So that is what I am doing here. And that is how you stack assets. That's how you take one big asset and turn it into mini assets. And the more assets you have, the more opportunity you're giving yourself for you not to exclusively trade time for money. I don't know which one's going to work, but I know one of them is going to work. Maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 4. I don't know. But I'm giving myself the odds of these things working in my favor. So I hope this episode helped you. I hope it served you. If you guys haven't picked up the book yet, go to clinicianincomestreams.com. Is that what I said? Did I say it right? Clinician's Guide. Anyways, look in the show notes. Okay. I don't know what it is right now. All right. Clinician's Guide to Incomestreams.com. That's what it is. All right. So anyways, I hope you guys pick up the book. There's a link for it on Amazon as well. But if you get it directly from us, you're going to get all types of goodies and stuff like that. All right. Love you guys. Till next time.